I don't think there's anybody in the world, any policymaker, etc., who thinks there shouldn't be redistribution of income. That is a practice, a policy that has been practiced by all governments and particularly by the Modi government since 2014. So there is a redistribution of income. We now come to redistribution via a wealth tax. First, what has created all this commotion, etc. Sam Pitroda's comment, he said that the US has a 50% inheritance tax. It turns out that only 6 states in the US
Correct.
have an inheritance tax, and it's no more than 20%. So I don't know how a major policymaker within the Congress can now come out with a basic statistic that is so out of whack with the reality. And here we are talking about whether we should have one. So I would like to know, the Congress itself has said now that they don't believe in that Pitroda is speaking for himself, which is fine. But why are we having this debate about an inheritance tax or this discussion even? So Pitroda falsely claims that it is X. The Congress denies that he has any role to play in the Congress policy, and it is not their policy. So what are we talking about?
No, because the Prime Minister has jumped on the idea of an inheritance tax. He hit out during the campaign speech that he did today. In fact, only 6 states, Iowa, Kentucky, Maryland, Nebraska, New Jersey and Pennsylvania have inheritance tax in the US. And out of these, Iowa will be eliminating its inheritance tax in 2025. So as I said, let's break this into 3 parts. And I want to go across to Arun Kumar to try and explain why he thinks in the current context of India, income and wealth distribution, redistribution is a good idea. So can you kick this off by explaining why you think what's being discussed isn't loony economics and why you think this is actually what India needs, given that income inequality is rising?
Well, if you look at the data that has been made available, the Credit Suisse data for 2018 shows that 1% of Indians have 51.5% of the wealth, and the bottom 60% have 4.7%. And the report of Oxfam for income distribution shows 1% have 22% of the income, and the bottom 50% have 13%. So India is one of the most unequal societies in the world at the moment. And the question is that, this inequality is not God-given. It's not natural. It depends on the system that we have in place. That's why we are one of the most unequal in the world. There are other countries which are much more equal. So basically, inequality depends on the system that you adopt. What kind of economic policies you adopt is not as if it's naturally given in some form or the other. Now, the disadvantage of having a lot of inequality is that it leads to social tensions. Even the Credit Suisse report points that out, that having high inequality leads to social tensions. Also, having high inequality leads to shortage of demand. And when you have shortage of demand, then the rate of growth of the economy
but inequality by itself, Professor Kumar, is misleading, because what you want is that the stock of the poor in society improve, that the poorest to the poor become better off, which there are multiple data sets in India to suggest. When you look at multidimensional poverty, and the piece that Bibek Debroy and Aditya Sinha write talks about that when you look at the multidimensional poverty index, the MDPI, or you look at the bare necessities index, the living standard of India's poor has in fact improved. What it also says is that the rich have got richer, which again necessarily isn't a bad thing. As long as you're raising the quality of living of the mass of Indian people, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, but the point is that, you see, when you have inequality, it leads to social problems. That's what Credit Suisse report also points out. And Credit Suisse report by no chance is a left-leaning organization. It also results in shortfall in demand, because people at the lower end don't have the purchasing power. And that's why from 2017-18 quarter 4, when the rate of growth was 8%, it fell to 3.1% just before the pandemic. So there is a slowdown that takes place when the demand is short. And that's why capacity utilization of the RBI itself was showing it was hovering around 70%. So, in other words, to increase demand, you need to give higher purchasing power to the people at the bottom of the pyramid. If you don't do that, the growth suffers. And that's where, the economy, if it has to give more employment, then it must grow faster. So, equitable distribution of income and wealth also leads to higher growth in the economy.